creative audience, we're going to talk about that for a while and the significance of it and how we kind of hit on it in terms of research. But first, I always like to start out with quotes. And I thought this was the most prescient quote I could find all year. And oddly enough, I heard it twice today. Thank you, Todd and Andy. Both you guys said the same thing. I was sitting back there going, yeah. So change everything. And if you're a company that started, that opened, or was founded before 1995, that's got to be your mantra right now. So many things have changed, and everything about the way people think has changed, that you got to get on the stick. You got to change everything. You got to open up your books and start to think about that, no matter what it is, what your customer service is, what the store environment is, all those things that you talked about today, Todd, as well. So just to kind of prove a point, this is the guy, and we had somebody here from Samsung. This is the guy that made that quote. And if you open up their annual report, at least the one online, that's what it said. There's a picture of him, and it said, change everything. So that's a 65-year-old company. They're competing pretty well with Apple. They're like one of the only people competing with Apple on a lot of different levels. That 837 store that they opened competes with Apple. Their products obviously compete with Apple. Their commercials compete with Apple. And this guy's mantra is change everything. So if they can do it, we can all do it. Also, in case you didn't know, Samsung is a $200 billion company. Okay, so I'm an old school guy, and I always have to have a little bit of an agenda, or at least I'll set you up. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you, and then I'm going to tell you, and then I'm going to tell you again. I'm going to talk about the sponsors very briefly. I'm going to talk about what's up, what's kind of happening, how we got to where we got. I'm going to talk about the DNA of the DNA, and then I'm going to talk about the mindset, kind of the mindset that we feel like companies need to adapt to go forward based on conversations with consumers. And you have to understand that that's what we do. So we consult with companies, we talk to companies, and I think this mindset is quite fitting. And I'm going to give a quick summary. First sponsor is the company I work for. It's WD Partners. Thank you, Chris Dorschlag. The D stands for Dorschlag. Thanks, Chris. He was at this event last year. Those are our offices, where they are, some vitals. Our mission is to drive and shape the future of customer experience. That's why I'm here. That's why I still work for WD Partners after 15 years. And you're going to hear this is what we do. We say that we do it for the people. We do it for the customers. We don't necessarily do it for the client, because the customer is really the boss. And you're going to hear from strategy and shopper insights today in terms of WD Partners, what I'm going to present, a little bit of design and brand as well. But we have a pretty prolific company. And where's Mark? Mark, are you here? Yep. There's Mark. He's also from WD Partners. Put you on the spot there, buddy. Okay, we also do white papers. We've just done these just within the last couple of years. The Alibaba Saves the Store is what I presented last year. And you can download that now for free. We also are going to release in 2 weeks the one-click store of the future, because from our conversations with consumers, we've come up with this notion that in order to compete with, one of the best ways to compete with online shopping is to change the checkout. That if the checkout got to be like, do you remember when Amazon had the one buy button, or what do you call it, buy now button, right? So the one click button, you clicked it and it changed everything. Then you thought, all I have to do is get to this thing and I click it and wow, they ship it to my house. Change the whole game. Same thing is true with the store. Customers, one of the things that we say in the white papers is customers hate customers. And the more we talk to people, like anything to do with checkout, the most annoying thing a customer could face was more customers. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So if you can move them in and out more quickly than we do, as a matter of fact, at a much more rapid pace, it'll change the store, be the store of the future. And we also produce this online publication called Wayfind. It's a fitting title because retail is on fire. I was going to put the subtitle as not in a good way, but Chris vetoed that. Which is too bad. Retail's on fire, and I mean, it's burning down. And just some clients that we work with, and I'll be happy to talk to you about that later. And Michael, all the Michaels, thank you guys very much for giving me an opportunity to talk. Thank you, RetailSpaces. This is an awesome event. I would say, other than today, we probably have twice the people here this year that we did last year. So good job. Okay, so just to start things off, I always like to say, once upon a time, and it's kind of a joke because in retail, once upon a time is like, 5 days ago or last year. And we were talking about Macy's, and last year we were talking about Macy's is the greatest thing. They're into technology because they have this millennial basement. It's so awesome and all this powerful publicity. Then they closed 100 stores and now they're in the dumps. So Macy's is the most awful, company that you could ever think of. What are we going to do without Macy's? So once upon a time for retail, again, maybe 6 months ago, 5 months ago, Andy? What, about 5 years ago, you guys were on top of the world. That's about as far as it gets. But anyway, once upon a time, life was easy. We knew how people shopped. So just as an example, we say that males hunt and females browse. And I don't know if you've ever seen that map. There's two maps. One of them is, this is the way males shop. So there's an outline, like a plan of a mall, and it said, this is how males shop. They get in their car, they get out of the car, they go to the Gap, and they go back to the car. And then this is how females shop. They get out of their car, and they go to every single store, and then they go home. Anyway, we knew how people shopped. We knew how people spent money. We have a pretty good idea, and Darden Restaurants knows this really well, like what income level goes to what stores. They create concepts for specific income groups and specific types of demographics. We knew who people were. This morning, and all the time I hear conversations about Gen Z. Oh my God, Gen Z, that we have to focus on Gen Z. Then, well, what about the millennials? We talked about the millennials for a decade, so now I guess we're over them. Well, Gen X, we totally forgot about them. That's okay. We don't even have to talk about them. And then the boomers, I apologize to all the boomers in the room if you don't have white hair. I'm one. But anyway, we have everybody in nice, neat little buckets and little quadrants. And we even do things like personalities. So we say, John is a boomer, and he likes to exercise in the morning. And then he goes to Publix when he shops. And he takes his sons to Abercrombie, and he goes crazy because the music is too loud. And we have these whole stories and personality types about each one of these things. We have everybody in nice little boxes. We also know where people shop. So, baby, we could just take a swag at this. Baby boomers shop at Walmart. The millennials and the Gen Zs, they shop at Forever 21, and everybody under the sun apparently shops at Amazon. Talk about that in a second. So we had segmentation. We still do, and I'm not poo-pooing segmentation. I think it's still really important. I think you need to understand everything that Gen Z has to offer or the millennials have to offer. We also have more data than we know what to do with right now. We have big data. We have segmentation. But from the studies that we're doing, we talked to over 12,000 people now, quantitatively and qualitatively, over the last 5 years. We started to pick up something else. We did a little secondary research. And I have to say, I think there's really kind of something bigger that's happening that we need to think about. And it has to do also this type of thinking, like a tech type of thinking that applies to what I'm about to tell you, really is pervasive in the way that we need to think about our companies and how we treat our people, how we talk about our offices, how we drive our cars, what we're thinking about cities going forward. So let's talk about some of these happenings. The first one is, and I talked about this last year, but people don't have to go to stores anymore. And you could say that, but you have to really think about it for a while because they're I don't know, decades and decades and decades, and maybe even centuries, where no matter what you bought, you had to get in a car or you had to go somewhere, you had to walk, and you had to go to a store. I remember my mom taking me to the Jewel Osco in Chicago as a kid. We bought everything down at that store and the candy store. We always went to stores. The flip side of that is we have to want to go to a store. So we have all these stores that we built, and it was mentioned earlier today, which is great, where we took about a 20 or 30 year period and we built these stores that we had to go to because that was the premise. We have to go to them. We have to go get stuff. We have to go get bedding. We have to get sheeting. We have to get groceries. We have to get this stuff. Don't have to do that anymore. So what happens to those stores? Because they're built for one thing. They're not built for us to go to because we want to go to them. They're just built because we have to go to them. So that's a big happening. And again, some of the stuff that I'm going to show you is kind of symptoms of a larger disease or symptoms of a larger cause. Foot traffic. foot traffic has been down every quarter for the past 3 years, at least 10%. As a matter of fact, the fourth quarter of last year, it was much more than that. It was more like 12, 13%. We've had other quarters that have gone like that. Some stores have gone up. Some stores have done really well. A lot of stores have gone even worse. Nonetheless, foot traffic is down. That's another happening. And then we have this customer that says this.
I don't want to stand in line. I don't want to walk around. I don't want to deal with salespeople, and I don't want to talk to anybody.
There you go. And we heard this. This is just a sample of a statement, of a quote that we've heard over and over and over and over again, especially from young people. I don't want to stand in line. I don't want to walk around. I don't want to deal with salespeople. I don't want to talk to anybody. I heard that earlier today too, where people are coming into the store. I think it was Norm was saying, people are coming to the store, they're totally geared up, they know what they want. They don't want to talk to anybody unless they really want to talk to somebody. They just want to touch it and buy it and get out. There's still maybe a lot of purchases happening in stores. When you have customers that think like this, it makes customer service pretty difficult. Then another happening is Amazon pretty much rules the earth. And everybody knows that now. Maybe 5 years ago, you were thinking, didn't those guys sell books or something like that? But my favorite part of this thing is, I'm going to see if I get this thing here, but look from 2010 to 2015. Just look at that growth right there. So that growth is $75 billion annually in revenue just within the last 5 years. $75 billion bigger than they were in 2010. That's phenomenal. I just saw a stat last week, and I got to get it in here somehow, get it in this presentation, but they said second quarter online retail sales, Amazon compared to their next 8 competitors. So who do you think the next 8 competitors to Amazon is for online sales? Walmart, Target, Best Buy, Costco. It's all those guys, right? Walmart or Amazon did 8 times or 10 times what all 8 of those guys did together. So their total for the second quarter was about $10 billion in online revenue. Amazon did 60. Did I screw that math up? I think I did, didn't I? Anyway, phenomenal numbers. So Amazon rules the earth. Mobile is where the globe shops. 45% just this year. Last year it was 33%. So that's a huge shift. And later on I'll show you some stats of where that's all coming from and why that's happening. On-demand is on target. This is the on-demand economy. So anymore, we don't really talk about customer service. We just talk about just give it to me. Just bring it to my house. Or bring a car over here and I'm going to get in the back. I don't care who you are. I'm going to get in that car. So what was once a hotel, now is that. What was once a cab, now is that. What was once a mailbox or a mailman, now is that. What was once a store is now that. Any of you guys ever been to Urban Outfitters Spaces concepts? So they only have 3 open right now, one in New York, one in Los Angeles, and one in Austin. I'll show you some pictures of the one in Austin. But if that is anywhere near the future of stores, it's a complete flip from where we are right now. A complete flip. It almost has nothing to do with actually selling merchandise. And people act like differently, a lot differently than they did 10 years ago. Remember when we used to have conversations? Last night at dinner, we were all talking. And I thought, oh, this is really great. I'm sitting here with these people that I know and some of them I don't know that I just met, and we're talking. It's really awesome, which is something like I rarely do with my daughters. They're upstairs sending me texts. We don't really do that too much anymore. We do this kind of thing. So now somebody translated this for me. It's like, well, I had a bad flight down here with Mia from Michigan. And well, where are you and GD? Well, he's fishing now. And me, I'm just driving around. Oh, when are you guys going to get together? Well, she doesn't know that I don't have the kids with us. Well, I know that's what he's done. That's a conversation. And then we also have emojis, and that's an emoji for like a really screwed up conversation, right? Which is the one that we just saw. So sometimes I'll actually do, if Chris was here, his face would turn red. We will just communicate with emojis. So it'd be like bang, 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 there's 4 of them, with a gun to your head or something like that. And then you know what's going on. So we're talking like completely different. We also do and say things like this. So we say, yeah, to be honest, I got a dip set out of here because it is hot AF and I'm just not on fleek right now with what I got going on. I showed this to my daughter and she goes, that's about 3 years old, Daddy. And I'm like, the TVH? Really? I kind of like that. So, and the other thing, and I'm just like symptoms of a larger disease, right? Symptoms of something else that's going on, something bigger that we started to notice. People are also creating online content. We could talk about that for days, but we just happen to pick up online content like this, and this is like over 1 million hits.
I play Pokemon Go every day. I play Pokemon Go. I play Pokemon Go every day. I play Pokemon Go. When I wake up, I'm grabbing my phone. I wanna catch them all. I wanna play.
Okay, that's enough of that, right? What's really bad about that is I've been watching that video a bunch, and you start to sing it. Like, I play Pokemon Go. Anyway, so really, really different. This next video we picked up online also had like something like 500,000 hits because it's funny, but it could have happened in my house.
There are geometrical shapes coming out of my nose. I'm getting to the good witch of the bathroom. Run, Weasley!
I'm getting high off of baby wipes.
When I use the toilet, I put my head and shove a toothbrush up my nose because I'm hot like.
Confession time. My shit smells like rat.
Ghetto perfume.
Touching air fresheners, buddy.
All right, you get the idea there. So it's like, what's going on? Like, what's happening here? What about all these symptoms? Like, what are these symptoms leading to? Why do people talk like that? Why is everything changing? Why is everything changing so fast? And when we started to pull, again, all the information that we're looking at, over 10,000 people, and we started to gather, and every single study we did, we noticed that the biggest disparity in any demographic was age. So we started there. We started looking at that more than anything else. The race, income, regionality, age was always the thing. The biggest spread in anything that we looked at. And usually the faster, the more hyper, the more powerful, the younger you were, the more you liked it. So we had this idea, and I kept thinking, all the time we're talking about millennials, we're talking about Gen Z, we're talking about this, we're talking about 15 different things. But at the end of the day, it's really only one thing. And it reminded me of something like an old movie clip that I picked up. And I always think about this when people are saying, there's 15 different things. And I'm like, there's only one. So bear with me on this clip.
We may ask what is relevant, but anything beyond that is dangerous. He's a liar. The demon is a liar. He will like to confuse us. But he will also mix lies with the truth to attack us.
I think it might be helpful if I gave you some background on the different personalities Reagan has manifested. So far, I'd say there seem to be 3. She's convinced that
There's only one.
I love that look on the priest right there. There is only one. So all the time, the young priest thinks that there's a bunch of demons in there, and the older priest says, no, dude, there's only one. It's a really creepy moment in the whole movie. But I think that's what's happening right now. There's really one major issue that we have to think about, and it just doesn't apply to one thing, like how you sell people products. It's different than that. It's how we think. We're just not thinking in a certain way. And this is so good, I'm going to do it twice. But are you a digital native, or are you a digital immigrant? So digital natives, and we'll talk about it later, but not necessarily a generation, but a population. There's people of different generations that are digital natives, and there's people that are different generations that are digital immigrants as well. So are you a digital native, or are you a digital immigrant? You get 2 different colors for that. So what is a digital native? It's a wiki. There's a wiki on it. If you just go down to this last sentence here, pretty much it sums it up. Greater understanding and adoption to both existing and new technologies and the speed of tech thinking than those who came before them. The speed of tech thinking. And then the poor digital immigrant An individual was born before the widespread adoption of digital technology and also thinks like that as well. So we started to run this idea past consumers, and this is what, for the most part, they said.
It's interesting because I've never thought of myself as fluent in anything but English. Still, I like the fact that it's defining me as a native anything, other than just like an American white girl. It definitely fits.
So digital natives like to be called digital natives. And every one of them was like, yeah, that's it. That's me and everybody else. And by the way, I know this other guy, Uncle Bob, he's only 32 years old. He's a digital native as well. And so we picked this chart up for PricewaterhouseCoopers. Like once you start doing secondary on digital natives, you can get a lot of different information. So if you look, like the inflection point is right around now. So when we're talking about 2025, when digital natives will be predominant category in terms of population, it's going to be a much different world than the world that we live in now. But one of the reasons why we're seeing all this really odd stuff happening, we think, is because we've crossed that point now where the digital natives are really kind of taking over everything, that their thinking is starting to affect everything. They don't want to go to work to the same places. They don't want to go shopping in the same places. They don't want to do anything in the same places. And they don't necessarily have to be 12 years old. They don't have to be 21 years old either. So this is from PricewaterhouseCoopers. Their career aspirations, attitudes to work, and knowledge of the new technologies will define the culture of the 21st century workplace. I think define the culture of the 21st century, period. That's what's starting to happen. I got this out of a book called Born Digital. I forgot to put the source down there, but I would recommend that book. It's good. I think you can skim a lot of it. It's a professor, and he talks like endlessly about certain characteristics, but it's called Born Digital, and it's all about digital natives. It goes on and on about digital natives. Not a generation, but a population, like we were just talking about. It's also a mindset. And if you think about it, there's been people who have had this mindset for a long time now. Jeff Bezos has that mindset. Steve Jobs had that mindset. They did things ahead, and they did things in advance, and they moved at kind of that tech thinking speed, at the speed of a digital native. So as we pulled off other stuff, we noticed that 1995 was the year that changed everything. And that was kind of the beginning of the digital native. First up, all this stuff happened in 1995. First up was eBay. So for the first time, you could go online, put something online, put a picture of it online, and sell it. Other people would buy it. So you could buy and sell things for the first time, 1995. Then Craigslist. So now you have a worker, some people come in, the handyman, you can rate that handyman. You can go to this place and find out a new handyman who's rated really high. We're starting to rate workers. We're also trading merchandise. Amazon was born in 1995. At the time, they were only a bookseller, but nonetheless, they were born in 1995. Now that's the everything store. And Google, I cheated a little bit. Like a couple of years later, Google happened a couple of years later, where you could just look up anything about any one of those. You could say, how can I buy a piano? Boom, up comes eBay. And Fast Company, and the significance of Fast Company is they started in 1995. They've always written about those companies. And if you notice all their articles, and how many do you send to people at work, like, I saw a Fast Company article at work. Oh, respect. Tons of respect. Why? Because they're talking about those companies that are thinking more forward, that are thinking about the 21st century like in a lot different way. Toy Story, what's significant about that? Big time, big budget, zillion-dollar digital movie. It's not cartoons, it's digital. The Netscape IPO, now Wall Street's on it. Millions and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars are going into the purchase of stock about companies that are tech-related. Match.com. All these are all 1995. So Match.com. Now I can find a mate. I can find a person that I really like. I can date somebody. I can look up something that I can buy on eBay to give to her. I can look at her dad's business on Craigslist and see if he's any good. And I can maybe buy her something on Amazon, all in 1995. And then the clincher is, that was the year that we had the tipping point in the United States for PCs. So 50% of Americans all of a sudden have computers, and all of a sudden everybody could start to look at this. Well, now if you think about this, if you were born in 1995, so now you're 21 years old, or you can even push that back a little bit, maybe you're 25 years old, you have never known life without those companies. You've never really known life without Fast Company articles. And who does Fast Company talk about again? Those guys. And even worse, I mean, Facebook didn't even come on the scene for 10 years after this. And now all these companies and things like these companies and the on-demand economy have exploded all along the same graph line that we were looking at in terms of digital natives. Same graph. So we, just for the fun of it, we thought people born in 2025 will never have heard of, especially when they get to be like 20 years old, so say 2045, cash. There's already cities in Europe that are going to test cashless stores. Gasoline, maybe that's wishful thinking. Waiters, offices, for sure. We're going down that road. We had WeWorks here last year. A funny story about that, I had my daughter intern with us at WD Partners last year. We were going back and forth in the summer. And after about a week, she says, okay, so you guys get in a car every day and you come to this office and everybody works in the office like all day long and you sit at the same place, all of you? And I'm like, yes, yes, yes. Okay, that's enough, you know. I get it. Checks, we need checks. Maps are already gone. Reading glasses, conference calls. Woo, that'll be good when those go away. Telephone poles, landlines. Every day I look out my window and think how much more beautiful the landscape would be without them. Let's hope they go away. Flip phones. Only gangsters have flip phones now. Banks. What do we need banks for? Now, blockchain. You guys been reading about blockchain? Right? That's Bitcoin is a piece of a blockchain. If you read about blockchain, you'll see banks have got their names, their days are numbered for sure. And then what about those things? I'll show you a couple of pictures later where you think, well, maybe 20, 25 years from now, maybe that'll be a lot different too. It's definitely going to be different. Commonplace by 2025. The source of this is the Fourth Industrial Revolution. It's a book that I would recommend everybody buy. It's on Amazon, by the way, for about like $8. It's by a guy named Klaus Schwab. And what he did was he interviewed everybody at Davos. So, you know, Davos in Switzerland, all the most important financial people in the world get together and they talk about what's happening with the economy, what's the future of the economy, what should we do. He interviewed those people and asked them how they would rank certain things that would be commonplace by 2025. And these ranked over 75, 80%. Implantable mobile devices. So you can put a mobile device, this is only about 8 years away. We're saying this is going to be commonplace. Maybe in your child's neck and you'll never lose them. Or maybe your dad, maybe me. Driverless automobiles, well, I think we're already going down that road for sure. Clothing connected to the internet. So now you could walk down the street and you could see your clothes will go, turn left here. You're like, okay, turn left here. Yeah, that food place is right across the street. Really? What's the temperature? You know, should I go buy a coat first? Whatever, you can talk to your jacket. Cities without traffic lights, that's also being tested in Europe. You have driverless cars, what do you need traffic lights for? This is one of my favorites. Augmented reality business meetings. So the key is to that, you could be anywhere, you put on Oculus glasses and you'll be in a meeting room at a conference table with all these different people, look them in the eye and talk to them and have a one-on-one conversation with them. Not so far out. And this is my all-time favorite, AI on the board of directors. So artificial ex machina coming to life. Artificial intelligence on a board of directors. So sometimes I think now, especially in the fashion industry, I think there's already AI on the board of directors. It's not being done very well. I think a lot of these guys are getting robot advice or too many numbers, that's for sure. As a matter of fact, I was thinking there should be a Bill of Rights for robots someday. I'm already like super prejudiced against robots. Okay, so now I'm going to show you things to be true, things that we know to be true. This is research that we did, and some of the numbers, limited by time, but I'm going to show you some of the numbers that we came up with when we talked to consumers about retail mostly to try to figure out like how we're going to get to this next step. How do we get to attributes of this digital natives? So every number that you're going to look at is based on purchase and purchase intent, top two boxes. So on a scale of 1 to 10, this is 9 and 10. So whenever you see a 40% that are 9 and 10, to you guys, that chart would look like this. So that's definitely worth testing. At 35, 40%, you get 35, 40% with thousands of people like this, top 2 boxes, you should test it. If you get 50 and 60%, you should just do it. There's the numbers we talked of, 10,000 people. Those are the numbers that we pulled over and added up for this, the numbers that I'm about to show you. Everything kind of matches up with the demographics of the United States, at least pretty close. Good mix of male and female, et cetera, generations, also race. Age, so we started with age, and we took a look at that because that's where we saw the biggest discrepancy in everything that we did. And we started with people that were 30, that number is actually more like under 28 years old and then over 45 years old, and just comp those numbers to each other. So the numbers and the percentages you're going to look at based on purchase intent and that kind of split in age. So first of all, use a mobile device to make online purchases. Digital immigrants, about 15% top 2 boxes. So that's a cool number. That's a low number. That's even lower than a bell curve. So you consider something like that, like, that's not good, actually. Digital natives, 51%. Definitely a go. So digital natives, when you see that number go up to 45%, that's these guys reacting, for sure. That's who's buying online. Online reviews and purchase intent. 45% for digital immigrants. So in other words, stores should right now be thinking about doing online reviews in stores. If digital immigrants are there, they're 45%, that's almost beyond test. And then digital natives are 65%. You're talking about almost 20% variance there. This is something that we should see in stores all the time now. The only store I've seen that in is Amazon. So if you go into Amazon bookstore and you come up to a book, you can scroll through and look at everybody's reviews. I wonder how they got that information, because they know. Then for their one-click study, a mobile self-checkout. So in this case, you walk up, you check out something with your cell phone, and you put it in your pocket, and you basically walk out. 33% for digital immigrants, that's pretty good. I mean, not to test quality yet, but still it's a pretty good number. 57% for digital natives. So you could see who Apple's customer is, or Apple knows who their customer is. Apple's customers are digital natives. And to throw something a little bit further, a little bit more forward at them was the right thing to do. That's a go. And they did that in all stores right away. Buy online, pick up in store. This is one of my all-time pet peeves. We did a study about 2 years ago. The way people want to see buy online, pick up in store is they want you to come out and put it in the trunk. That's what they said. It was a huge difference from any other method. Still today, I'll go to a Target store, I'll go to a Staples store. The only people that are starting to get it are Walmart is building these separate units where you can pull up and do that. The other people that are doing it is Amazon. So here's what the numbers. 49% for digital immigrants. That's a huge number. That's a go. They don't want you, though, especially if you have a grocery store, pull up, go in there, go get your bag, and then come back out. They want you to put it in the trunk. 65% for digital natives. It's actually a closer thing. That is definitely something for buy online, pick up in store, drive-through that everybody should do. By the way, we were talking about ROI today because I know that a lot of you guys are thinking, well, what's the ROI on actually having to build something like that? We talked to Home Depot about that a lot, and they couldn't get off it. But Amazon measures ROI on information. So I know somebody that worked for Amazon for a while, and they were telling us, well, when they open a store and they try to figure everything out, especially that bookstore and the other bookstores that they're opening, they're not looking at revenue, they're looking at information. How much information can they gather? Because information leads to sales. Not like, how do I have to sell stuff? How am I going to pay for this store? How much information can I get so then I can sell people the right thing? Anyway, self-serve lockers. These tested really well too. Not so well with digital immigrants, really well with digital natives. Guess who tried them? Amazon. Then we did this combined retailer for pickup for buy online, pickup in store. So a central part of a mall where you could buy things from 10 or 15 different stores or outside of the mall, and just go pick up one big bag. You have one locker and it's like Abercrombie and Ann Taylor and all these other stores, Nordstrom, and you just walk away. 38% for digital immigrants, pretty good. 59% for digital natives. So every single thing that we threw at digital natives compared to digital immigrants, huge difference, huge variance. 20-some points of top 2 boxes, not just middle. So here's some one-click store of the future. And again, for us, we started to think, isn't really the store of the future just like Amazon did? The first thing they did was come up with that button. So why not stores? How can I check you out? How can I move you through? Obviously, Apple is testing some stuff like that too. The further out these go, the more the digital natives like them. So RFID checkout. The idea here is, see if I can do that, you walk through these barriers like that, then you walk over here and you swipe, you pay, and you go. So you don't have to go through every single item because RFID just picks it out. 39% for digital immigrants. That's pretty good. 58% for digital natives. So digital natives are ready to do something like this right now. A word of caution I have to say on a lot of things like this is if you're going to test something that's a little bit further out and you want to try it, you got to beware that if the predominance of your customers are digital immigrants, I would go pretty slow on that. If not, or either that or just look for a demographic in your stores that is more digitally native oriented, much younger clientele. So fingerprint scan, you walk up, you have a bunch of stuff, they ring you up, you just put your fingerprint on there and then you walk out. 24% for digital immigrants, that's pretty cool. That's a cool number. I don't mean cool, I mean cool. And digital natives, almost 20% higher. So digital natives, you want to test that with. If you have that type of business, that type of store, or that type of demographic for one of your stores, you want to test it. Beacon technology, this is my favorite one, where you have a loyalty card, you put things in a bag next to the loyalty card, the beacons pick you up, they know you're there, they know you have the merchandise, you check out, charges you just walk out. 19% for digital immigrants. Again, the further out, the more the digital natives like it because they think differently. They're thinking like, yeah, that's a no-brainer for me. If I can just put it in a bag and walk out of the store without doing anything, I'm in. What do I have to do? What do I have to sign up? How much information do I have to give you? Retinal scan, so even further far up, where you walk up and you let it check you out by eyes, also very cool for digital immigrants. Digital natives, maybe not ready for testing yet, but still much, much bigger number. Then this, the showroom concept. We were talking about this today. We were talking about Bonobos today. And Bonobos does, I don't know if you guys know this, but Bonobos does over $2,000 a square foot. An average mall number, a good mall number, is around $650 per square foot. Bonobos, which is a showroom concept, does $2,000 per square foot. They're up there in the Warby Parker range. So we tested that. The showroom concept of the store of the future is the showroom store of the concept of the future. That should be a question. Digital immigrants, 28%, maybe not so much for them. But for digital natives, they're ready for that right now. So you were talking about that today, Andy. Could Abercrombie actually have showroom stores where you buy something and we'll ship it to the house? Yes, because that's definitely your customer. And then we threw this in our secondary research. Are you addicted to digital devices, digital immigrants? That's a pretty high number, actually. I'm pretty sure my wife is in that stat right there. And digital natives, wow, right? Almost twice as much. They're admitting that they're addicted to digital devices. So the largest spending group with an estimated $200 billion by next year. So basically, fundamentally, change is kind of all around. Change is everywhere. It's happening fast. People are talking differently. Stores are different. Everything about it is different. The perception of stores is different. We have a group of people who were raised with nothing but companies that think like that as well. Successful companies that think like that, run by people that also think like that. So what's the deal? What we did was we figured out we've come up with the first attributes of the digital native. Like, what are these characteristics from talking to them? And I'm going to show you some videos of these people saying these things to us that we think will really drive business at a different kind of ROI and different kind of ROI measurement in the future. First of all, open to that. So what is that idea? You have retinal scanning? Yeah, let's test it. What does it mean? I don't know. Let's find out. And then change it now. So if you're open to that, you got to change it, test test things more often. And then service. And service, like somebody said to me, isn't it really convenience? And I'm like, no, it's not convenience. 7-Eleven is convenient. When Postmates brings my dinner to me from my favorite restaurant and hands it to me at my door, that's service. So you have to think about that completely differently. And then not an immigrant. Every digital native that we talked to was always like, yeah, but kind of not like my dad's. Yeah, that would be right, but not like that. And also, it's annoying to a digital native if you act like a digital immigrant. Like, oh, gee, I don't do social media. That's kind of a pain in the butt, all those kids talking that way. So let's talk about some of these attributes, and then I'm going to show you some videos of what people said about them in actual interviews, and then I'm going to also show you some companies that are doing it. So the first one, open to that.
I'm always interested to see what's coming next, right? I'm like, all right, that's cool. I'll try that.
Heard that 1,000 times. All right, that's cool. I'll try that.
What I like is the opportunity to find things that are different, things that we might not even know we need.
I'm going to try something different. Maybe something I don't know I need.
Don't be afraid to be open-minded. Your brain won't fall out.
Yeah.
Yeah, 90% of the time I have absolutely no idea what it is. I was like, I'll try it.
That's my favorite one. I have absolutely no idea what it is. I'll try it. And I think that kind of perfectly sums up what we're talking about. Try that. So some people, some companies already are open to that. Amazon obviously is open to that. They've created stuff like this, an Echo, that you put in your kitchen counter that's you can ask it like, hey, what's the score of the latest baseball game? Oh, by the way, could I get a Cubs t-shirt? Could you send that to my house? Sure. Like, could you also reach out to so-and-so? So now they have something. They're a retailer. They're a retailer that sells things. Now they have something in your house that's AI, essentially, that you buy things through and through them. That is open to that. Also, Virgin Galactic. I mean, they have spaceships. They'll do just about anything. We were in Shoreditch about a month or so ago. We ran into this store called Neville and Cheeky. Inside the one store, they had a barber shop to the upper left. They had a little restaurant, which I don't know, like Todd, you can tell me that won't pass code here. But then they had a clothing store also on the top. Then off to the right, they also had a movie theater. You go over to the right side and you go into that very cool movie theater. And then in the basement, they had a bar. This is all in one store. So they're open to that. They're open to just about anything. Then Rebecca Minkoff really kind of started this, like fashion mirrors. This is Neiman Marcus, but that's a great idea, I think. Let's see what that looks like in 4 different colors. And then Uber with self-driving cars. How cool is that going to be when you're just going to order up an Uber, a car will pull up, you'll get in it, tell it where to go, and it's just going to drop you off. That's open to that. Great, great thinking. And then Eatsa. Most of you restaurant guys have been to Eatsa, I'm sure, but the way this works is all the meals are like under $6.95, I believe, down here in the lower left corner. You go to a tablet and you press in your meal. You go up above your weight, your name shows up on one of the doors. You get your meal and you sit down and you eat your meal $6.95. Everything about that is different. So there's no people, there's no food, there's no anything. You just get your meal and you go. San Francisco. And then these guys are with T-Bot. 365 tested a lot of different ideas. They only have 3 stores open now as of last week, but there's a lot of different digital native kind of ideas in there. And this is one of them. So we're open to that. What kind of tea do you want? We have 15, 16 different types of tea. Let's check it out. Attribute number 2. We're going to go over this for a second, but change it now. Like, we want things changed, and we want them changed now. Not tomorrow, not like 4 years from now, however long it takes you to do all those stores. We want to change it now. How do we change it now?
Someone once told me all great changes are preceded by chaos. I believe that.
All great changes are preceded by chaos, and that's what's happening right now. Chaos.
You shouldn't expect to see a change if you don't make one, in my opinion, right?
That kid loves Star Wars, I can tell. I heard you shouldn't expect to see a change if you don't make one, right? Right. So how about change a workplace? This is a cafe that they sell merchandise. It's a cafe. They'll also lease you a space where you can work. Great idea. Random Works in Toronto. There's all kinds of places like this. Last year we had, like I said, we had WeWorks. Here's a WeWork spot. So the idea of working, like my daughter said, like, why are we going here every day? The idea of working is more like that. Change it to that. Hoonigan Racing in Utah, a great space. Then this space, Star Lehigh in New York City, also has all kinds of fashion vendors on the inside of it, food trucks, and different places to work throughout the building. The whole building was just remodeled. It's about 10 stories high, and it's all modern, digital thinking workspaces. And then, of course, Amazon with the biosphere in the front. The name of their headquarters is Day One. That's the greatest name ever. So you come to work and it's Day One, because that's how they think. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it rolling. What's next? That idea you had yesterday, that's old hat. Day one. Today's day one. So they have this idea. Amazon is going to test a 30-hour work week. That's pretty awesome. So now you're my daughter and you heard about that. You're pretty interested in working for Amazon. It's like a 30-hour work week, and maybe I could work in different offices around the country. This is the new Google headquarters. Talk about change it now. My brother's the architect of record on this thing, and this is all glass, covered in like all these open stories. And I guess those are yoga people down there too. My brother's was telling me that the engineers are freaking out, trying to figure out how they're going to build that thing. Change an auto dealer. Tesla changed auto dealers, right? It's graphics, it's one sample, and it's people that never try to sell you a thing. That's changed. Plus, the S car that they released, 2 or 3 people in our office bought that S car. It was like 5 easy steps. Yes, 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 no, here's this number. Just bought the car, or you signed up to buy the car. Thought that was a cool idea in Nashville. Then this Echo Park, I think Martin's here from Echo Park and from Sonic Automotive. That's a new kind of used car dealer. Remember, used car dealers used to have like white lights and a bunch of cars, and somebody would say, what do I have to do to get you in this car today? Now they look like that. That's awesome. That's changing that business completely. And then, of course, if you turn around and you go to sleep, these guys are going to get in the used car business as well. That's Amazon Prime. Change shaving. I just have to show you this. The Harry's my favorite. So everybody's kind of going after shaving. Why? Because shaving, like razor blades, are like $38 from Schick and those guys. So everybody's like, oh yeah, how about this for $10? And by the way, it's designed really cool. It's handsomer, sharper, and less expensive-er. And this is like one of my Dollar Shave Club ads. If you haven't seen them, I think the Dollar Shave Club, like why all this change and like disruption is happening in shaving, I don't know. It's probably the expensive reasons, but their blades are great. And this just happened in India, India's first shaving club. Awesome. Change of store. So Dyson, I think we were mentioning Dyson earlier this week, and that's what it looks like. In the back there, you'll see a dirt wall. So you take one of the vacuum cleaners, you go back there and you suck up some dirt. And that's it. I know it's odd. That's it. And then they'll ship it to your house. There's really no inventory. So right now, I could tell you from the thousands of people that we've talked to, that if you're under 30 years old, you think this store is a super cool idea, and that's where you're going to go and you're going to buy your vacuum cleaner. So no inventory, everything run out of a warehouse, more space for experience, period. And this is the Urban Outfitters space concept, Space 24. So as I approached here, on the left-hand side, there was a little bit of a hamburger stand. On the right-hand side was their females store, but it was really kind of walled off. But what you see there is potentially the store of the future. So at nighttime, there's little white lights there. There's picnic tables where I can enjoy a hamburger. There's beer trucks in the back here and food trucks. Back here is a stage where bands play, and we can also communicate around a fire over here. They're not selling a single stitch of merchandise there. And the last time I checked, Urban Outfitters sells apparel and accessories. Not one lick of merchandise in that store. And all their stores are like that. They have all kinds of spaces. And I walked into that and I thought, they're not kidding. It's a space. It's Space 24. So they're going to sell things online. They're going to sell things at some other stores. But for some of these space stores, almost like a flagship concept, You're just going to go there and you're going to enjoy and experience a completely different experience. That's something, Andy, you guys ought to try, really. And then, of course, Samsung 837, a great job in that store. And everything about that store is the same thing as Space 24. So they have classes there where you can dance. They have, classes in terms of the merchandise. If you look at that entire picture, how much merchandise do you see? Compare that to a store like a Walmart store or something like that, which is definitely a digital immigrant store. Change customer experience. This is called Beta out of Palo Alto. And this is more, we're changing a customer experience for a different reason. Because every one of those vendors, every one of those machines is curated by the owners, and they lease that space to them, just like Best Buy does, only on a much smaller basis. Once your machine or whatever you're selling in there does not sell, you're out. They bring in the next hottest one. So you're on the bottom of that list, you're going to get moved out, and somebody else is doing this. So they're constantly being pitched consumer electronics that are the highest order. Great concept. But right now I can tell you that concept is going to work. I showed this last year, but I have to show it again. So this is a North Face store in Korea. You walk in to buy a coat and the ceiling drops out. You jump up here and you hang onto the wall. You hang onto this wall until these coats drop out. Then you jump out, you grab your coat, and you fall into a whole pit of foam. Nobody thinks that's funny? That's the greatest store ever, man. That's an experience, though. Starbucks roasteries, you guys have probably heard endlessly about the Starbucks roasteries. This is Argos in London, where you come in, you shop here, and you go over here and pick it up, or you shopped online, you go over here, and you pick it up. So basically, there is no experience other than computers and picking up your merchandise. Apple stores, I don't think we really need to talk to them about them, but what we should talk about is what they came out with 2 weeks ago, where they said, we're not going to call them stores anymore. If you don't think that writing isn't huge on the wall, then you are definitely asleep. So what are they thinking? It's a gathering place. It's an event space. It's a place you go to for lots of reasons, only one of which is to actually buy products. So they want you to go there to Apple. They don't want you to go to Apple's store because remember some of the things that we were looking at before by 2025. How do we know stores are going to exist in 2025? Change the mall. We're talking about that earlier today. This is the platform in LA. If you get a chance, you should go there. That's the parking lot. And then this is what it looks like when you approach it. So it looks like a cityscape, but it's a mall. Down below with like coffee shops and all these things. No chains. The only thing close to a chain was Blue Bottle. I think we've got some Blue Bottle people here at this conference too, but that Blue Bottle is awesome. But blending, really living in with retail. And Box Park in Shoreditch in London, really great. Everybody gets the same thing. If you look here, all the graphics are exactly the same. So I think Nike's in there as well as all these other people. And up on the top, you can go have a beer. You can go have a beer and walk around and then go shopping. And then you can go over to Neville and Cheeky and get your hair cut. And Ponce City Market in Atlanta, I'm sure a few of you people have been there. It was an old Sears warehouse that they've now made into offices, a shopping center, and condominiums. Really a fantastic place to suggest you go there. It's like the mall of the future, taking and reclaiming basically a building that would otherwise just be torn down. And right here in Miami, Wynwood Arcade in Miami, really great design. Every store is kind of the same, or it looks the same from the exterior, but it's art rust surrounded by art. Service component.
Like the rudeness of some of the customer service that I have received lately in stores, I have had a lot of rude people lately.
I've had a lot of rude people lately. We've heard that all the time. And the whole on-demand economy is actually being run by people under 30 years old. Some people really get service. 7-Eleven gets it now. This is Carbone. They'll do personal valet anywhere you go. Postmates, I love Postmates. So you get tired, you come home from work, you call up Postmates, they'll deliver from any restaurant that you have. Shipped, same thing with groceries. And there's the whole on-demand list of them, like Uber, Airbnb, TaskRabbit, there's hundreds of them. So this type of thinking, again, is pervasive. Then not immigrant.
My parents have a landline, but never answer it because it is always telemarketers. WTF.
I hate to say this, but I actually do that. We have a landline just for those guys, and they call every 10 minutes. Here's a good one too.
So I saw that new Cadillac commercial. This is not your dad's Cadillac. I'm like, yeah, it is.
So, oh yeah, it is. I'm not driving that. So in terms of, and there's always kind of the not what to do, but in terms of like not being an immigrant, here's a store. You could have walked in that store in 1972. It looks exactly the same now. That's digital immigrant thinking right there as well. I didn't even have to say anything about that one. This is a pickup center, an actual pickup center. Buy online, pick up in store, and go there and pick that up. Are you kidding? Also this, right? That's immigrant thinking, where I'm going to take a digital screen, I'm going to put it by all my stuff, and everybody's going to suddenly buy stuff. That's immigrant thinking. Packing a store so full that you can't see anything from one side to the other. Think of that beta store compared to this store. Which one would you rather shop at? And this is just a personal rant, but I'm late here, so I'll talk about it later. But so the Dispatch, I'll give it 2 seconds. The Dispatch, Columbus Dispatch, I don't even know why I get a newspaper. Why do I get a newspaper? I read everything online. They changed from taking that newspaper and putting it on my porch to just throwing it at the end of my driveway. Screw you. That's the end of that. No more newspapers for me. Immigrant classic, however, and we're talking about this because I think Shinola is up here next. Excellent. So we heard that. Like, yeah, I'm not going to drive that Cadillac. That's my dad's Cadillac. What about Shinola? We heard a lot of really positive things about Shinola. And vinyl, stuff like that. Also, Space Invaders. And Mustache. So summary, really, it's welcome to a new world. We are, most of us, immigrants into this new world. We've got a lot of adjustments to make in order to adjust to the natives. Eventually, there will be much fewer immigrants than there will be natives. So we've got to start thinking like this. Open to that, change it now, service, and don't be an immigrant. Your days of being an immigrant are over. Now you're a native. You need to think like a native. Move faster. Test it now.
Those who criticize our generation forget who raised it.
Those who criticize us forget who raised us. And remember him and the way he thinks, change everything. And apparently Todd thinks the same way, and Andy thinks the same way. And just one last thing before I get kicked off of here. If you have everything under control, you are not moving fast enough. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much, Lee.